Just out of curiosity, you said Wendigos. Do you guys have Wendigo like legends up in Maine?
Oh
Like any
yeah.
like sightings or anything?
Yeah, a lot, especially like in the Mount Katahdin area, the 100 mile wilderness part of the Appalachian Trail and shit. The tribes call them, or some of the tribes, every tribe has like different names for it, but the tribe, so I am part native, and our tribe calls them Jawakwas, and um, the description is a Wendigo, so
Dude,
it
it's kind of weird. I did research for, I guess, Native American cannibal lore for Bizarre Encounters, and there's like Wendigo, Wachuge, um, Chinu. There's like a bunch of different names for these things, but it's like the archetype is essentially the same, but there's still like minor differences. Like the Wachuge, for example, rather than it being that you like succumb to starvation and end up resorting to cannibalism and eating somebody, and that's how you became one. Their whole thing is that it's like if you have too much pride, then you get infected with the spirit, and then it takes you over. So it's like the archetype is kind of the same as far as like how it interacts and what it does, but how you become one is different. And that's kind of like the hard part when it comes to a lot of like the Native American lore is that it's like, there are sightings of these things. So you can't just say, oh, they only created it in order to like teach somebody a lesson. But then on the other side of it, there's so many different Native American stories that are strictly like to teach a lesson, and they're all metaphors. And I mean, both of those, don't resort to cannibalism and don't be or don't have too much pride are both like good lessons to teach. And, you may want to attach like a story along to them, but then there's still, again, like the actual physical side of people experiencing these things. I mean, me possibly being one of them, I don't like to say like for sure I had a Wendigo encounter, but at least from like the pieces I put together, I like assume I had a Wendigo encounter. So it's like these things are in the physical, so it can't just be a metaphor, even if there are metaphorical stories attached to it.
Mm, that's that's true. I mean, it's just like your Wendigo encounter is just like this Dogman encounter. Like we're associating it with it, but we're not 100% sure that that's what it was. We want to say we want to fantasize, romanticize like the cryptid that we think it is, and like be like, oh, I actually had this encounter. But it's possible that it could have been something else. Um, but like every like indication and everything, every characteristic about it screams, Dogman, or in your case Wendigo. I think you did see encounter a Wendigo, um but I
It
don't
just was
know.
so unnaturally shaped, and it felt unnatural, which is, I'm sure, exactly how you felt. And that's where
Yeah.
it's like hard to place, is that it's like you open-minded skeptic is the best way to be, and it's like you don't necessarily want to say it's this creature, but at the same time though, it's just like you have this feeling in your gut that it's something that's like not supposed to be there. And at
Right.
least like the physical characteristics, like you saying how tall this thing was just looking over the wall, or like when I saw this thing's like the shape of this thing's body, like it's just, you can try to write it off in your head all you want, which I did for a long time. I was like, oh, it's just some like crackhead, but it was like, they're not shaped like that, and they don't have like decaying looking skin, like you try to write it off, but at the end it's like it's hard to.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's the same for you, but I mean, like, at least when I started my show, I talked about my shadow person experiences and my astral traveling experiences, but it took me a while to actually even bring that one up because I didn't know where to place it in my own head, let alone like try to just come onto a show and say, like, this is what I saw. Like, I was super weird about telling anybody in the first place. And now the only reason that I even do go on shows talking about it is because I do have some things that I think could be theoretical clues like attached to it, kind of like you were saying with like the height, for example. But it's still like I'm not going to go anywhere and say I 100% this is what I saw. I don't know what I saw, and that's why I say like this is what I think I saw. These are the clues on why I think I saw what I saw, but like I don't know for sure, so I'm not going to say it. That's what it is for sure without like I had eyes on this thing, so I can't say without seeing it. But like you just even if you have these weird encounters, you still try to write it off in your head. I
For
mean,
sure.
even people that have Sasquatch encounters, like everybody still tries to write it off as, oh, I just saw a bear or whatever, because it's just your brain wants to normalize it, even if it does feel off in your gut.
Yeah, for sure. Having a healthy skepticism on this whole like realm of weird shit, I feel like is helpful, but also is damaging, because then you don't like you're skeptic, but you're also a believer, but you don't you don't want to believe you saw what you saw, so you're like skepticism is taking over, and you're just like, I didn't see that shit.